Welcome to Explore This, the podcast where we take a peek into the hearts and minds of explorers everywhere and learn what it takes to dedicate your life towards creating a better planet. In our first season, we focus on African explorers and feature scientists, historians, ecologists, journalists, and other experts from across the continent. I am your host, Cornelia Sokelo.
And I'm your co-host, Gautam Shah.
Our guest today is Yvette Ehlers-Smith, someone who looks at the red earth of South Africa and hears the heartbeat of the continent, its wildlife, its forests, and its people. She got a BSc from Oxford Brookes and an MSc from Exeter and a PhD from KwaZulu-Natal. With her fieldwork in Indonesia using camera traps and indigenous ecological knowledge. But we're not just here to tick off credentials. Because beyond all that, Yvette is a scientist who cares about the community, a researcher who believes that people who have lived on the land also hold its stories. Thank you for being with us here today, Yvette. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Cornelius. It's a pleasure to meet you, not face to face, but across the internet. Thank you for having me.
So let's start from the beginning. You grew up in South Africa. What is your fondest or your favorite memory of growing up in South Africa?
Gosh, so many. I think, my family, I was quite fortunate enough to go on family holidays. Both my parents are teachers, so they get school holidays off. So over school holidays, we sort of 50% of the time either went into the bush or to the beach. So I've always been split between my kind of passions for bush or beach. There isn't specifically like the most favorite, but times in the Kruger National Park, surrounded by elephants. I think I was about 5 years old. This was before my brother was born, so we had a little single cab pickup. We call them bakkies in South Africa. And it was the three of us in the front of this little single cab vehicle. And it was like it went dark. We would just, me, my mum and my dad, and we were just suddenly surrounded by elephants. And I don't remember exactly where it was, but I just remember the thrill. Like, you absolutely petrified because they are humongous, great big creatures, but also equal parts sort of excited. So I think that is one thing that I definitely remember from like childhood memories, is being in the middle of this section in the Kruger National Park. We pulled up to watch elephants, and the next minute we were completely surrounded by them. Incidentally, now I have a very different relationship with elephants. My husband believes that they hate him for some reason. Whenever he's in the vehicle, we always get charged by an elephant, whether it be a bull in must or a female. But I have never been in a reserve with him where we haven't had like a little moment where, we've been charged by elephants. So, very, very different from my childhood experience. He's not South African, by the way. He's British.
Maybe that's what they're charging at.
Maybe.
So that's a very fascinating story about your childhood. I can imagine that memory. Like, I could see it being surrounded by elephants, and I felt the chill.
It was like it went dark. You couldn't see, because it was quite a small little vehicle. It was like a single cab Mazda pickup. So it's a small little thing. But to be completely surrounded by elephants. I think we were like down near a river edge. So it was quite lots of dark vegetation and big trees and things as well. So to basically have the sun blocked out by a herd of elephants is pretty exhilarating.
Amazing. Would you say that this was a precipitating event in your life that led you to the work that you do in conservation?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't think so. I've always enjoyed being outside and getting dirty, and I grew up on a farm, always outside and in nature. So there was no like this, I'm going to work in conservation, or like I'm going to make this my life's calling or whatever. But it wasn't until I was actually an adult and we did a backpacking trip, and we traveled, we went through Southeast Asia, and we traveled South Pacific. And at that point, I realized, actually, no, some places you see photographs and things, how you expected places to look like. And then you realize, actually, no, there's been quite a lot of environmental degradation or coral bleaching or deforestation. So that was a little bit of like a wake-up call for me, because I think I was very naive. And that was the point where I decided I'm going to study, and I did my bachelor's. So I studied, and my calling actually came quite late in life. When I started my bachelor's, I was 27 years old. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I was a nanny for 3 years. I worked for the school development service at Oxfordshire County Council in the UK, and saved up lots of money and went backpacking, and then just went, In fact, I think my dad wanted me to become a veterinary surgeon so he can get free care for his cattle.
Oh, dads.
Yes.
Always having good, big ideas for what they want us to be. So basically,
exactly.
Growing up on this farm, there was not one particular thing you imagined you wanted to be growing up.
I wanted to be everything. I wanted to go into drama. I dabbled with the idea of becoming a veterinary surgeon. You name it, set designs. I went to like a school visit where we went to this hotel school, and we looked at it was like a cooking school, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to become a chef. Like literally everything. But yeah, and I think that's quite indicative of my life. I get excited about a lot of stuff, but yeah, luckily now I've settled. Yes.
I don't know whether or not it's a good quality. I think sometimes I wish I still had this childlike excitement where everything is exciting and new, and you want to try everything out. I think I miss that. I honestly do.
I think my husband might disagree, because when you look at the list of hobbies and the cost of hobbies, every time I'm like, oh, that looks really exciting, I'm going to try that. He's like, oh my goodness.
I feel like this is the cost of doing business. This is the cost of doing business. Okay. So now let's move a bit to your adulthood. You spent quite a bit of time in the UK studying. I think you did your undergrad and your master's in the UK.
Yes.
What brought you back to South Africa?
Okay, so for my undergrad, or for my honors thesis, I decided to come to South Africa to work in or near a nature reserve that's actually very close to where my parents farm, to look at human-wildlife conflict, particularly primates. So my honors thesis was, the research was done in South Africa. And my husband joined me, and we spent several months here. And I don't know, I just became, like, from being very, very independent and being very, never ever felt like I could set roots anywhere, always wanted to travel or whatever. I suddenly became a little bit homesick. And we just enjoyed that experience, being back, for me, particularly being back in South Africa, and spending time in this nature reserve, talking to people, doing the research. And it made me think of, if there was opportunities to come back to South Africa to do work or research here. And then my husband started doing his PhD, which took us to Indonesia. And then when I was looking for opportunities for my master's research or master's degree, the University of Exeter had also like a bit of a surf and turf program with a strong focus on African wildlife conservation. And then, that was like, okay, if I'm going to find a way in to academia in South Africa, or to get a position or something back in South Africa, this is going to give me the best head start. Oh. So with Exeter, we had this amazing field course in Kenya. And I did my master's research work back in South Africa, and my husband joined me again, and he was like, "That's it. We have to. We're moving. Doesn't matter how. Like we just that the decision was made." And yeah, that was the catalyst, and here I am now. Yeah.
Decision made. We are moving.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Because
how would you
we loved it the first time round. So yeah, I think he completely fell in love.
You mentioned going to Indonesia.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, that must be extremely different than the other experiences that you've had.
Yeah. So Indonesia was also I sort of piggybacked. Me and my husband had a sort of rule that for research or for work, we become each other's research partners, research assistants. So when he finished his master's, he got an opportunity to go out to Sabang National Park, which is in on the big island Borneo, Kalimantan, in Indonesia. So I followed him out there, and I sort of went from doing very moderate bits of field work, working with great crested newts in the British Midlands, and doing bat surveys on farmlands and dodging the odd sheep, to being in the peat swamp, living in the peat swamp. It was, yeah.
What's it like to live in a peat swamp?
It is swampy, very humid. I suppose it's very similar to the temperatures that I have here in KwaZulu-Natal. We lived in an old logging cabin at the edge of Sabang National Park. So the cabins were the wood cabins were essentially on top of the swamp forest. So in the rainy season, it's inundated with water. So to get to camp, we get a little klotok, a little river, like outboard motor canoe. So you travel from the little village on your little klotok, and then we get to essentially like a little pier at the edge of the forest. Get onto a little, I think it used to be more motorized, or not non-motorized, like a railway system. You know, you imagine like two people like pump, that sort of thing. But they put on a little engine, and so you get on this little train, and you take the train into the forest. Yeah, wet season. Some days, if you come back with a dry T-shirt, it's a miracle, because A, you're like, it's so sweaty, and B, you fall in holes in the swamp. It's I loved it. It was home away from home for me. Waking up to gibbons calling every morning, the pre-dawn chorus, bird songs, orangutan loud calls. It is just magical, because also when we go out searching for animals, we walk transects, but we try and walk them in parallel. So you'll be on your own walking a transect with a radio to be in contact with your with other teams. So you're in the forest on your own for best part of the day, and like the stuff that you see, the things that you fall over, I can't describe it. It's amazing. The sounds, the smells. I remember one day we did a bit of an expedition into the more inland forest. So it becomes a little bit drier as you go inland. And it was so dry that we actually struggled to find water for our camp. And usually you dig a hole, and then you find water. And the first team went to go and just make sure that all the transects were stayed clean from the previous year. They did a little bit of transect cutting, and they came back and they were like drenched. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, did you find water?" They're like, "No, it's sweat." And the next day I realized how humid. You get back to camp, and you've got your like gumboots, Wellington boots, and you empty them out, and it's just like sloshing water, and it's sweat. It is literally like,
oh wow,
everything that it is. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Eventually we did find water. We didn't succumb to dehydration, but it was when we went from one extreme to the other, from water for days, and then going to a place where we literally we couldn't find water for trying. But yeah, it's an amazing place. Everything.
I can imagine.
Animals, plants, birds. Oh, I have to just tell you. So we had a young researcher, Indonesian chap that joined us. He was from the local village. Very proud. Always used to carry his parang with him. His like machete. And we were walking on. Some of the transects still had little mini boardwalks. So we were walking along this boardwalk, and the next minute there was a mother sun bear and a baby bear. And he got such a fright. I'm not sure, he was walking in front of me. I don't know how he did it, but the next minute he was behind me, using me as a human shield. And I was like, oh, this is how the great fall. And bears are I don't know whether they're blind or just they don't see very well. So they obviously, we were walking on this boardwalk and it's very quiet. So they didn't hear us and eventually almost bumped into us. But yeah, I just thought that was so funny. He was like the bravest, and the bravest ended up practically sitting in my backpack and using me as a human shield. But yeah,
well, they say, right? You don't need to be faster than the bear. You just need to be faster than anybody else.
Yes, I just needed to be faster than Henry.
Your dad wanted you to be a vet. You're now in conservation. How did he take that? Was he against it? Did he push back, or was he just happy that you're following your heart?
I suppose he's a bit old school in the sense that he's always worried about financial security, which is I have to say it has been touch and go, and we've always done everything on a shoestring. I think so for him, as long as I'm safe and secure and stable, like financially, I don't think it matters exactly. It doesn't matter what I do. So yeah, I think he sort of tongue in cheek was a little bit disappointed that I'm not doing all his artificial insemination on all his cows, because he now has to fork out a decent bit of money to have that done. But no, I think he's incredibly proud of the fact that I work for parastatal with a very good reputation throughout Africa. So yeah, the financial issues in terms of career and was probably always in the back of his mind. But yeah, I think now that I work for Ezemvelo and I'm here, so I'm not out in Indonesia or in the UK or traveling or whatever. I'm actually back in the motherland. So I think he's incredibly grateful.
He's happy to have his little girl home.
Yes.
I want to change lanes a bit and talk about research, because you're a researcher, I'm a researcher. There are things that I understand. And for example, there's something I've struggled with over the past 2 years about the idea that I want to make these big changes in the world, but it seems like it's such a huge thing that you can't really, like you're barely moving the needle. Do you ever find a time where you're struggling with the purpose of your research, of your conservationist, that you feel I have to step back and try and fall in love with it again?
Yeah, the grief is real. Like I don't have children, and I always think, if I did have children, what kind of world will they be inheriting? Because there is a lot of bad news stories, a lot of places that places that even 10-20 years ago were losing natural habitats such an astounding rate. But then you have to you do just have to find the positives. Otherwise, you'll go insane. So for me, a lot of my daily work, which I'm really grateful for, because previously when I was still doing a lot of research, it felt like we were just publishing for the sake of publishing. You've done all the work, you've put it out there, but so what? So working for a conservation authority means that now I have to take a lot of that knowledge and actually implement it. So with this job, there's definitely ups and downs. I'm glad I'm not in academia anymore. I'm glad I'm more of an applied scientist, or more of a sort of traditional ecologist in that sense. But yeah, you just have to see the hope. Otherwise, it's not great on the old mental health, for want of a better word.
Yeah. I'm going to borrow this phrase. I'm going to start referring to it as grief. I think I've never thought of it as grief, but when you said it's grief, it really did make sense. So how do you cope with this grief? Do you have any techniques or any secrets you can share with me?
Do you want to hear about my hobbies? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think, I do have things that distract me a lot. Because my husband also works in conservation, when we always say, oh my goodness, people are going to stop inviting us to dinner parties, because once we get going, it can really become a little bit depressing. So I just do things that are completely unrelated to my job. I make soap, which is also sciencey. I enjoy it. I make soap from scratch. I collect skulls and do skull art. I do
Wait,
a little bit of taxidermy as well.
Collect skulls of what animals?
Any animal, anything I can find. So
In the wild?
Yes, or
Okay.
I've got plenty, like things that die in the garden next door. We've got so much wildlife around us that it's not necessarily, I mean, I don't have elephant skulls or like lions or like
We
things
had to make sure.
things that require permits.
We had to make sure.
A rock hyrax and a mongoose and a bird skull and and one of the sites where I work is a vulture colony. So lots of the game farms and things around do donations of game for a vulture restaurant. So during the winter months, we do nest counts to see how this population is doing. And the vulture restaurant has a huge, and I mean huge, bone pile. So after we're done with the surveys, I'm like, right, I'm just going to go and do a little bit of shopping. So I go to the bone pile and choose whichever, like antelope, or sometimes they've got horses or pigs or just weird and wonderful things. If you come to my house, you think I'm a shaman because I've got so many like skulls and weird and wonderful things hanging around. Yeah, so that's me. Hobbies, lots of weird and wonderful hobbies that from sad.
I'm going to take this down, hobbies, to deal with the grief, but at the same time, I don't know whether I'm scared or fascinated about visiting you. I mean, I want to see the skulls, but I'm not sure whether I want to see the skulls.
No, they're not you. Yeah, I've got a collection.
I have to admit something. We did a little bit of, I would call it stalking, let's say background. We did a background on you before this interview, and some of it involved going to Instagram page, and we saw quite a bit of photos of dogs. I assume these are your dogs. Can you tell us something about them?
Oh, I have 2 dogs. One is my firstborn. I don't have children. Is a 12-year-old Jack Russell Terrier called Sharky. So Sharky actually helped me with my field research for my PhD. So he joined us to put out camera traps. So he's very familiar with the forest. I always say he's a bit of a weird snobby dog in that he doesn't roll in dead things. The only thing that he ever rolls in is bushbuck dung. He loves that stuff. I don't know, like he anything else he'll avoid. He like pulls his nose up, but bushbuck dung he's very good at finding. So he did a lot of field work with us. And then 2.5 years ago, a friend of mine found a dog at incredibly rural creche, a really malnourished, really like poorly like looking little creature. She was only like this big. We took her to the vet, and the vet said, "Oh, she's most likely a miniature pinscher." You know what a min pin looks like? They're like ridiculous little things anyway, she's not. She weighs 20 kgs. So she's her name is Wicket, short for Wicked W. Warwick, named after an Ewok from Star Wars. So she also comes with us when we do grassland surveys. They've been very fortunate to see some of the rarest species in our province, so they come and do blue swallow surveys with us. They love it. It's lots of exercise, and I firmly believe that Sharky believes that he is going to save the species. That's his like role. He's
Go Sharky.
the whole savior of the blue swallow.
That's very heartwarming.
For my two little babies, my two.
You've accomplished amazing things and you still have amazing things to accomplish. I'm curious, in 10 years, what would you want to be remembered for?
Being a nice person. Isn't that what everyone like strives for? So, just don't be a mean.
I don't know if everybody wants to be remembered for being a nice person.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe just hopefully influenced a few people in their lives, changed a few minds about climate change. I think that's, I'm not a super ambitious person. I do what I do because I love doing it. But yeah, I think if I leave this world or in 10 years' time, I can turn around and just say I changed people's perceptions, or I can say we managed to incorporate this piece of land in this protected area. I'll be very happy. I think at this stage, I think small wins is a win. I'm not picky at all. That perhaps doesn't sound very like glamorous or ambitious, but any small win is a win for me.
I think it's your legacy. That's what you want your legacy to be. It doesn't have to be glamorous by anybody else's standard except your standard. So I think that's really good. Nice person. I think you're the first person I've ever had when asked, what do you want to be remembered by? Nice person. Everybody else wants to be remembered by their work, but I like that. Yvette, if you were to meet your younger self, maybe your 18-year-old self, 15 years or 5-year-old self, what would you tell that little girl?
Patience and perseverance. Yeah, I suppose good things come to those who wait. I've just learned over the years that eventually the opportunities do arrive. Things take time, and if it's worthwhile, it'll happen. I think when I was younger, I was a lot more. I suppose the enthusiasm was there, but if things didn't happen, or the outcome wasn't necessarily something that I wished or wanted, leads to disappointment. So I think, just sit it out. If it's meant to be, it will be. Patience and perseverance.
Patience and perseverance. I like that.
I'm constantly trying to tell my 7-year-old that. So who knows if your 7-year-old self would have listened to you? But So that before we wrap up here, Cornelius is going to ask you a wrap up question. But I remember when we first met, one of the things that you had us doing in the group that we were in was you had us imitating ground hornbills, and I was wondering if you could do your ground hornbill imitation for us.
I haven't had to do it for a long time, and I should practice the way that we call the birds in. I don't know. I know we're not doing visuals, but let me just grab my decoy bird real quick. So this is a life-sized ground hornbill made out
It's
of.
enormous.
It's enormous.
I've seen them.
They're big. They're big birds.
You always see them on Jeep or something.
No, it's a huge bird. Anyway, so the call is what we use to lure them in, and the decoy birds is like the visual. I think it's a interloper, for want of a better word. So they attack the decoy bird. So the call we play, usually we just do recordings, but it's like a deep booming noise. So when you hear it from sort of close distance, it's almost like you can feel it. It resonates. It vibrates. I have not made that noise in a long time. But anyway, it goes. And then usually the mate calls back.
Oh,
Hopefully
wow.
get that on the recording.
Yeah, I remember you would call and you would have us all try and respond.
That's really cool. So Yvette, I want you to help us wrap this up.
Okay.
So you will wrap this up by raising an imaginary glass, or if you have a real glass there, and finish this sentence for us.
Okay.
Here's to
the weekend. Woohoo! Yeah, it has been a week. Let's put it that way. No, here's to making new friends. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you very much for spending your time with us, Yvette. All the best with your work and getting your piece of land brought into the protected areas. And have a lovely one. That's it for this episode of Explore This. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep exploring.